Good budget phones are getting better and better every month, and with every improved handset comes higher expectations and higher bar set. This is the Nokia 6.1, and it aims to be the phone to beat in the budget space. Does it succeed? Well, we'll find out. But before we jump into it, you should check out our review of a similarly priced and spec'd phone, the Sony Xperia X8 II. Aesthetically, you'll be hard-pressed to find much to call this a cheap phone. It's a sleek slab of black aluminium with bronze accents that HMD Global has really made a staple in their design language for Nokia's big return. Fingerprints don't blatantly stand out on this back, and although a bit wide by 2018 standards, the cold, slick material feels really nice to hold in your hand. There is a rear fingerprint scanner that is oddly placed for a device of this size. Similar to the Xperia XZ2's, the Nokia 6.1's fingerprint scanner is too low to be comfortable. It's awkwardly placed slightly above the center of the back, thus forcing you to bend your finger at an inconvenient angle to hit it. I tapped the flash more often than the scanner the first few days with this, and the scanner itself is average for this price point in speed and accuracy. Now, what makes this phone beat is a low mid-tier Snapdragon 630 processor with 4GB of RAM. This is the same chipset we saw in the Xperia X8 II. The big difference between the 6.1 and the X8 II, though, is that Nokia runs Android One, which is essentially a stock version of Android. Theoretically, that means quicker updates and usually a speedier and less bloated user experience. There isn't any extra fluff dragging you down. I am surprised to tell you that the Nokia 6.1 disappointed me with its performance. It isn't that the phone is unacceptable to use. I just legitimately expected it to perform better because of the aforementioned Android One benefits. In live use, I experienced noticeable lag and slowdowns doing everyday tasks that I know this processor can handle due to our reviewing of other phones with the Snapdragon 630. The 6.1 also runs rather hot when playing games or exhibiting a video. I noticed other Snapdragon 630 phones get warmer than they should, but this phone in particular felt unbearable to hold at times due to the build. That's a double-edged sword because I really do like the look and feel of the build, but as a result of that, it amplifies the heat. This phone is also a pretty heavy thing. You got a 3000 mAh battery powering it, which doesn't seem like much on paper, but the battery life was terrific. About 16 to 18 hours on a day, and I would say about 4 to 4.5 hours of screen on time. If I get those numbers with my heavy usage, a majority of normal people can get twice that. Now let's talk a little bit about the display. This is a 5.5-inch 1080p IPS panel, which uses a 16:9 aspect ratio. That obviously means that this will feel like a fat screen from yesteryear, especially if you've laid eyes on an 18:9 or a higher aspect ratio display. Color reproduction felt a little off to me. The reproduction of colors that are supposed to pop at you, like red, felt dull and dreary on this IPS display. I've been using a Thor wallpaper for the last month, and I swear the red cape looks much better on some of the other phones I've tested in that span. There is a single bottom firing speaker that is okay, but not too great. Here's some audio coming out of it. And lastly, the 16 megapixel f2.0 Zeiss optic rear camera. The interface is simple to use without too many additional modes and features. This does shoot 4K at 30 frames per second, which is nice to have at this price point. The camera is the same story I tell so often in reviews. In optimal lighting, shots are usable. Nothing special, but acceptable. In low light, it falls apart to the point where I have to say it's an abomination at times. You lose so much detail and it brings in focal issues to the mix. I can't even use budget as an excuse here. We'll do a versus video of the X8 II, so come back for that to see what I'm talking about. So to basically wrap up the story of the Nokia 6.1, it isn't the go-to guy in the budget space, and it isn't the flashiest girl at the prom. What the Nokia 6.1 is like the cousin to the prince. It looks nice and it'll get interest, but it doesn't outperform or outshine its competitors. And that ultimately is what the fate of the Nokia 6.1 will be. unless there are software updates to alter its life. And that can always be a possibility, but for now, it plays second fiddle.
If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, hit the bell button below so that you don't miss a single video in the future. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!